Hello, Leah. Welcome to the podcast.
Sorry for laughing, Adrian. Hi, Adrian. This is our fourth time lucky.
We're doing it this time.
We're doing it.
We did our first podcast about 20 months ago when we were in Bali, and you were 20 weeks pregnant with Layla, and we were our first-time parents, so we weren't really too sure what to expect. So it was just that first podcast was really just around what we were thinking about and our thoughts around raising a child and parenthood
as a new couple
in 2017. And now it's 20 months on, it's 2019. How do you feel, if at all, your thoughts have changed around parenting and parenthood and what it is that it takes to raise a healthy, aware, conscious child?
Yeah, good question, Adrian.
Thank you.
I think not much has changed around my ideas of being a conscious in practice rather than a conscious parent, because it's just about being aware of what I'm saying as a parent about how I'm guiding Layla. But I think more to the point of what I've learned a lot along the last 20 months is around being conscious together as a couple around how we practice being parents together and how we communicate to each other as a couple.
Yeah.
Because, that's, I guess, rolling out the way for Layla of who she wants to be as a person by what she witnesses from us and our body language, how we are towards each other, how we work together, and how we are towards her singularly and as a couple as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's it, because we grow up learning a language from our parents, and we also grow up learning behaviours as well and the way to react to things. So, but I find, at least anyway, it's easier said than done, like especially because I've pulled myself up at moments where like I haven't been as not too sure if I like that word conscious too much, but just as aware of my behaviour as I should be. But sometimes I'll just forget, and Layla will be right there, and I'm not even, and I know she's there, but I'll be so wrapped up in myself that I don't even register that she's there and taking all this on board, But it's it's helped me give some sort of understanding of my own childhood too, and even a little bit empathy towards my parents when they were like that too, understanding that it is a tough gig, being a parent, and it's hard to be perfect 100% of the time. So I think it's just a process of just continually self-awareness. Yeah, how am I behaving? Especially, I mean, it should be like that anyway in a couple, in a relationship. But especially when there's a child involved, he's just like a sponge, and he's taking in absolutely everything you say and do. Then there needs to be a bit more awareness around that.
Throwing into a mix a little bit of sleep deprivation.
Yeah.
And initially a little bubs with a bit of colic, and we weren't sure what we were doing. You're kind of given a baby, and that's, here you go. You know how to do it.
There's a little bit of support at the beginning, but then after that.
And I guess I don't expect support, but you're never going to know what you're going to get with a little one. I had lots of infections, like breastfeeding infections, and then so we both weren't getting sleep because we were taking turns in feeding her, so I could recover my body, and then all of those things that happen, and you've got to kind of look into other people and their experiences and talk to doctors, which sometimes is very conflicting information.
Yeah, I know, right.
And then try and figure out, are we doing everything right? The main thing is she's healthy.
Yeah.
And just kind of trying to keep our sanity in the mix without much sleep.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's not just, you're not just dealing with raising a child, but you're also dealing with keeping yourself sustained. You might be working, we had family issues as well going on, and all these things that go on. It seems to be when you have a child, everything is amplified. Feeding yourself is amplified, going and having a shower is amplified, going to work is amplified, family dramas and deals are amplified. And it really can be quite difficult at times, as much as it is joyful and it's amazing to have this little being. But I think especially for that first time parenthood, a lot of people that we've spoken to, and anyone who's got multiple children watching this will know, like usually the second one is easier because you've been there and done it. You know what to expect. But I think it's the unexpected, what you don't understand or what you don't take into consideration that can really can make it difficult.
Yeah, I think for me personally it was trying not to put so much pressure on myself to be everything, because I've got this bundle of joy that, and someone explained it to me once, it's like seeing your heart running around outside of yourself, and it is. And then you find
it's such a
that
great analogy.
It is. And you want to do everything you can to make sure that they're healthy and happy, and especially in the first few months where you feel like they're just so fragile.
Yeah.
So I think that's what really makes you escalate in every emotion and everything that you're feeling too, because you
becomes heightened, doesn't it?
Yeah, and also with some hormones thrown into the mix.
Yeah.
Post delivery.
Yeah, definitely.
You're just trying to, I think, have that instinctual mother instinct for myself coming through. Just trying to go, I've got to do everything. What do I do to make sure the baby's fed and changed and happy, and how do I know that she's okay? So you put yourself into a little bit of panic mode, because I think that in a little bit of panic mode is healthy. It's natural instinct.
Sure.
It's that survival instinct kicking in. If we didn't have it and we're like, that'd be fine.
That's right.
Then we would be so aware.
There'd be a higher mortality rate probably. And like in seeing it, like from like looking in on that, like it was so important for you just to be take on, especially that first 3 months after Layla was born, and they call it the fourth trimester, where they're obviously there's still there's sleep deprivation, the hormones and different life things that can to take into consideration, but you had to be super focused on her and like make sure that that she was okay, and I think for like a father, like I don't know, I think I handled that part all right. I didn't handle it all that well, but like I think some fathers or some men start to get like a jealousy about like, well, I'm not getting any attention anymore, or like I don't feel like I'm getting what I need. But you'd hope that I think most men would understand that, like it become the man sort of, it's less about you anymore. It's really the focus needs to go, especially at the beginning, on making sure this child is healthy, and the mother plays such an important role in that. Like it's critical. Like I can't imagine what it must be like for like orphan children, or children without their mothers to like. I mean, obviously it happens, and there's some resilience that takes over, and they're able to get through the world. But the mother's role in those first few months, especially, was it's like just vital.
It's
really
very
important.
different.
Yeah. What was your take on those first few months? And
trying to remember now. Sometimes it just blacks out with so many different experiences.
We were looking at photos of her before, and I can barely remember like what she was like when she was. We're in Rottnest at the moment. We came here with her 12 months ago, and
pretty relaxed.
It's pretty funny to like look back and see. But
yeah, I think the first few months for me was just, I need to do everything in my power to look after this little one, and I would give my life for her. That's what I felt.
Yeah,
absolutely. And just so much joy and love, like you're outside of yourself with emotion of how you feel for this little being, and no one can ever tell you how it's going to feel. They can prepare you for the fact that you're going to feel different, and it's amazing to be a parent, but and no matter what anyone says, when you have that feeling when you are first holding the little one, I don't think it took a while for me to go back into my body after the birthing experience. No one can ever explain it, but I think the first few months you're just trying to survive. I remember you saying at the beginning of this that it's about survival of the little one, and I had a little giggle because it's survival of us too. We're trying to make it as parents and do the best that we can, and without going into a mode of panic or just letting ourselves be too exhausted by everything, and just coping with the fact that we have to do the best that we can without feeling that we're not doing enough.
Yeah, exactly. Or that the other person's not doing enough, right, as well, because that can come up as well, because it feels like sometimes we can feel like we're giving so much that it becomes very singular, I think, and it does take patience and some sort of empathy as well, that some days are going to be good days and some days are going to be bad days, and just to like know that it's all cool, like it's I wouldn't say normal, but it's part of the process. And I think that sometimes perhaps parents that struggle right at the beginning or in a relationship and then end up finding themselves, we've seen this, like, parents breaking up or splitting up soon after baby's born or short time afterwards, like there's no wrong, you know what I mean? It's like shit's gonna come up, like,
of course it is,
and it's not just gonna be with the baby. It's not just gonna be a relationship. It's gonna be life. It's gonna be the minutiae of this pattern of life is just, like we said before, is just amplified to another level. And just showing some sort of like patience and empathy and resilience as well within ourselves is really an important thing.
Yeah. We're two independent people, and you throw into a mix caring for a little one and trying to do it together and trying to get sleep and breaks in between. You went back to work after less than a week, and I was, not being, I guess, resentful of each other if one person gets more sleep than the other, trying to work through that and negotiate that as well.
Yeah.
Because you both just want rest, but you both want to make sure the baby's okay. And, but both trying to do as much as you can. And I remember thinking before Layla was born, I don't need much help. I'll do everything myself, and I'll cook, and I'll be fine after giving birth. And I can remember my mum coming around with all this food, and I was like, thank God.
It was like a godsend, wasn't it?
It's just, you don't even realise how much you need something like that, because they say like you have to feed a baby every 2 hours, but it's less than that. By the time you take 20 minutes with a newborn baby on each side to feed, changing them in between, then putting them to sleep, then they're awake an hour later, and so then you're trying to do that again, and
it's day after day after day.
The first time you went back to work, I think after 5 days, I had a little bit of anxiety. I'm like, okay, see ya. Like, I'll have to do this on my own, or am I going to be all right? Am I going to fall asleep and not hear her? Or and it's funny, like, I'm quite a capable, confident person, and and I think every mum has these thoughts that come through, but what it must be like for some that are really panicked or don't have any support around them. Family that live here. And,
exactly.
And going through a rough time maybe with their health, or just come out of hospital for a long time. Like, there's lots of different circumstances.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, you hear of like women needing like blood transfusions and all kinds, and it really, I mean, that happened to someone close to me, and it really set her back physically and mentally for months afterwards, even years. And it is such a delicate time. Straight after, I mean, a lot of emphasis gets put on it's, having said all this too, let's put a caveat and say it is an amazing experience, and like
it's just being raw and true. What our experience,
we're just being honest,
and
of like most parents, really, like it's not all glitter, like there is a tough component to it. And as you were saying that too, I was thinking though, like we are both independent, and we're both like, work is important to us, and like giving back to the community and doing our things to help. But like we haven't grown up in a society, or we never had a prolonged education around what it would be like to be a parent. It's just like, okay, you're working, going on holiday, working, now you got a child. Here you go.
And you fit that in as well as working.
Well, then you're having to fit that in as well. And I think in a lot of cultures, especially sort of older cultures, more of the hunter-gatherer type cultures, there is much more life, much more time put into like what it is to be a parent. And
defined roles as well, I think.
Yeah, more defined roles as well. Yeah.
Nowadays society, it's kind of like both working, we both have to put in, but the mum's still, if possible, breastfeeding and doing a little bit of that role, but that can change as well if the dad's staying at home looking after the little one, which that happens a lot now.
Yeah.
When yourself, you stay home 1 day a week, you have pretty much since they were 6 months old when I went back to work part-time.
Yeah.
decided that was important for us that we'd do that at that point in time. So
Yeah.
we had my parents for 2 days. I'm still expressing at work.
Yeah.
I work 3 days, you work 4 days, and
Yeah.
trying to manage it all in between.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like parenting roles have changed so much, and I would say for men more than women, especially over the last 20 years, definitely over the last 10 years, where there's, because like I found myself in a position where like I work in a place that's still sort of quite, and the management is still quite old school. There's nothing progressive about where I work at all, and except for the awesome people I get to work with, they're cool. But from a management point of view and the way it's ran, and yeah, it's there's so much change for men. I think a lot of men, you know, like fathers, can sort of, because I grew up a certain way, and
experiences.
yeah, but my father grew up. I grew up the same way my father would have grown up in a family dynamic, and his father grew up in that same way. His father grew up in that. This generation, like my generation, the idea of fatherhood has changed dramatically since my parents. So we've had like generations and generations of what it is to be a man, and to be a man and a father in a family. And now all of a sudden in the last 20 years, it's just gone.
I'm sure he
like
thought
that.
the same thing though when he was a father, how much it's changed from when he was little too. I mean,
yeah, like I'm
knows?
sure it did change. I think it's just, but the change is exponential.
It
like,
is, yeah.
and it will probably be.
It will continue to be.
It will continue to be as well. Like there'll be, and not to say it's for the better or for the worse, but it has changed a lot. And I think our society still, like especially our work culture, still hasn't caught up with that change yet.
Yeah, you know,
I mean, in some places it has, in a lot of places it has. I think it's getting better, but even some that say they do probably don't truly.
Yeah, especially for women going back into the workforce, it's stated that we're welcome back, so rat rot nest or kids outside, with open arms that we're accepted back. But then there's that passive conversation around, oh, so where are you going today? And oh, what time are you leaving? So it's just that expectation, okay, you're a mum, but you still have to do everything at work, and you have to be there, flexi time, and you have, so it's that sometimes not so much spoken expectation of women, or when you're going for an interview, you find that they ask particular questions to find out if you've got kids too.
Yeah.
I find I've been on a few interviews since early days of Layla being born, and I felt that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt I was. They were trying to find out if I had a child with certain questions they'd ask, and they were going, oh, so who supports your little one then?
Yeah.
That shouldn't be a question that's asked.
No.
It doesn't matter. I mean, I'm sure they're looking at if, my parents are looking after a few days, it's better for them, because then they don't have to worry about getting pulled out of childcare and things like that.
Yeah.
Taking a day off work because of it. So.
Yeah, definitely.
And talking about roles too, I mean, I think at the beginning we have these big conversations around defined roles in parenting, the masculine and feminine, female and male, and what that used to look like, what our idea behind that traditionally still is, without us consciously knowing what we do to define those roles. That can be very skewed along the line. I remember one of our conversations before Layla was born was around a surname. What surname was she going to have? And you were very much like, oh, I think, it should be the male surname, because it's very traditional. And, I come from, I'm proud of my background and my surname, and I think that. And I said, well, how about both surnames? We had a little bit of a conflicting time around it. And I in the end, we just both decided on having both our surnames, because we felt that she came from both of us.
Yeah.
And then we took out a middle name to make it too long.
Yeah.
But, I guess, is that an expectation these days too? What are people's thoughts on that around the roles? And is that include a surname? Even though that was traditionally done, because that was it was a very strong male role in working and providing and having the surname in the family. So why do we still do that now? Why do we still have just the male's name? And I mean, it's tradition, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But I guess I like to question it. Why?
Yeah.
Why do we do the things we do now?
Yeah. Yeah. I think looking back for me, it was like a pride thing and like an ego thing, especially when we've had discussion around this before. I know you're not too happy about the way I thought about it, but like, especially when I found out I was a boy, like I thought there was this pride. Like even though, like there was this pride and this ego thing. Like it was really deep though. It was like deeply entrenched. And like, what I'm like, I'm like fairly progressive. You know, I like to look at things and make sure there's like equality of outcomes for whatever the sex may be. But when it came to the surname, there was like this. Yeah, I can't explain it. You know, there was like this real like ego thing that came about, and I did find it difficult, the idea of like my child to have like a hyphenated name, or like to not carry my name, like, you know, and it's not because I'm a bad person, it's just because it was like, yeah, just something that's deeply ingrained in us as a culture and as a society, and it is changing, but for whatever reason, I don't know if it was because like I just started getting more comfortable with the idea of more understanding, or when we found out we're having a girl as well, like that just all dropped. Like it was just...
Which is kind of, you know, it's horrible to think in these days that we think that way, but it's ingrained enough.
It's not horrible. It's just the way it is. Like,
No.
yeah, like all that ego went, like, you know.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be any different for a boy or a girl, you know. Like,
it shouldn't be. No.
I mean, you would want I'm sure Layla to, you know, to grow up and have a choice in that if she had a child, without it feeling like it's, you know, it's better or worse if it's a female or male child. I mean, it's our perception of things. I mean, and that's.
But like, I don't care. Like, if we were to get married, I wouldn't expect you or want you. If you wanted to change your name, then great. But if not, that wouldn't bother me either.
Yeah.
So, but why with my child is just different, because it's a part of my biology. You know, it's like a part of my.
I guess it's part of your influence of you growing up, at your thoughts around things at that point in time. Like, I mean, I guess that can change. We're changing constantly, but then it's even I find myself personally, my ego is a little bit affected because I'm very feminist in a way of equality, by means of equality, and by a long shot, I'm not saying, well, she should be a Sumish because I gave birth to her and I was pregnant with her and I think that it's viva la woman's rights. I was very much in the mindset of both, because she comes from both of us, and if she's older and she wants to decide on a whole new name, she can. But at that point, it's our decision, and because we're in an equal part relationship, it should. And that was my mindset. So, but I could have been, my ego got a bit in the way when you were like, "Oh no, I think it should be the mouse," and I was like, "Ah." So, you know, it caused a bit of confrontation with us, I think. But then I asked myself the question again: why do we think these things? I mean, it's ingrained in us to an extent. Then how quick are we changing with our mindset of, you know, again, that word conscious, but to be aware of equality, but then still having a really strong defined role of masculine and feminine within ourselves, because it's becoming a very
definitely
masculine influence world with women too, like with the whole must provide in both home and work in all that way, and then trying to actually, and it's not just about work, but trying to step into our feminine too, with the way we go about things in our sense of self. We all got our own feminine within ourselves, feminine characteristics. So trying to like make sure that we can kind of keep an equilibrium within ourselves and flow within our feminine or masculine. And everyone's different. Yeah. But it's ranges. Been an interesting experience trying to be equal in a partnership, and then trying to navigate all these traditions and how our conditioning comes into that.
Yeah, exactly.
As well.
Exactly. And also like how your child can become like a functioning member of the society. Like there's no point raising a child, I don't find, that's so outside the square that they can't even, they've got no ability to interact with society. Like you need like I say need to, like I know, I don't really know, but like I feel you need to like at least allow them to see and understand how the world works, so they can at least operate it and create effective change within it and positive change, rather than just build a child that's off the grid and just can't even, you know, like that movie, Captain Marvelous.
Captain
Fantastic or whatever it is, where they're just like, those kids were great, and you know, but they had no ability to function in the world, and it's about finding that middle ground where they can still do that. And
it's like a hard one to find, that middle ground. There's a learning along the way.
Definitely. Like it's not like
you never do it perfectly.
Well, that's where awareness comes into it, and like just continually being critical as well, and just like, you know, constructive criticism, just to know like, okay, where's it at? But I just want to go back to the equality thing too, like because I said something around equality of outcome. Like I'm not, because there's this big debate around at the moment around especially feminism and like male and gender roles and things like that. Like I think equality of outcome is quite dangerous, and I think a much more effective way to raise a child and children is through equality of opportunity, so that every child gets the same opportunity. But at the moment, like you've seen, even with the sexes, females a lot of time don't get the same opportunities as men. And that's what needs to be looked at. There's too much focus placed at the moment around what the final outcome is for the sexes or for the children, and it circumvents like all the important stuff in the middle. And if we can start to change the conversation towards how can we give children, whether they're boy or girl, I shouldn't say boy or girl, masculine or feminine as well, and also adult gender roles, like give a greater opportunity, equality of opportunity as possible, and then let the person, then that gives full autonomy to the person to make their mind up to, they want to work for this thing and they want to achieve that thing, they can do it. But at the moment, and like I look at that with Layla as she gets older, I want her to be able to like have the same opportunities I do as a white middle class male born in Australia, and also ethnicities as well. That's a big thing as well. There's so much talk and focus on the moment. I think that's one of the while feminism has been important, I think one of the things where it's gone wrong is it's promoting this equality of outcomes where there's like, there has to be a 50-50 of women and men in on a particular board of a business or in parliament. But it doesn't work that way. Like, I don't think our society, and just biologically, we're not, because there's jobs that men want to do that some women don't, and vice versa as well. Like, it's a dangerous area to get into if we start promoting outcomes rather than the real focus needs to be on opportunity.
Yeah, I think with that, it should be the individual and their skill set, but I also feel that there should be equal opportunity in development and
for sure.
Opportunity experience roles, from both female and male.
But not just to say because you're a black female, you get this position straight away purely for being a black female, rather than what is your skill set? Like, what are you able to bring to the table? It doesn't matter if you're a white middle class male. Like, I think that's like some dangerous territory that we're heading into, and it's something that someone I follow quite a lot and have been for the last couple of years, Jordan Peterson, speaks about, because it's such an important topic. And it seems like if you bring it up, like a lot of people just don't, like those who are irrational don't really, either they don't understand it or they choose not to understand it, and they can get like a bit of blowback about it, which is unfortunate because it's a topic we need to have a discussion about.
Well, I mean, ideas come from experiences too. A lot of people have gone through difficult experiences, and that's where their perception lies, and unless it's redirected. But I think equality is just that. It's about equality, about being treated the same and not differently. So if we're expected to get a role because we're female, then that's
automatically being treated differently.
But we probably won't say no because we're like, oh, we'll get a role because
we're
a woman. Woo!
Yeah.
But at the same time, if we really want to step up, and that's what I really believe the essence of feminism is, and not just for females to feminism, males to believe in feminism, is about equality and not be treated differently.
Yeah.
So it's about getting a job or a position based on merit, not based on gender.
But not really being treated differently, because there are differences. So it's more like understanding the differences. Yeah. Because there are differences between men and women, and like and being okay with that. Like like there seems to be this thing, especially I think on the real like hard left, like around. There is no, there shouldn't be differences in it, but there is. And like, what's wrong with acknowledging that there's differences? Yeah. Like, women are far more nurturing. There's, agreeable, men can be very much more hard-headed and things like that. But then there's other traits that men have that are more beneficial to society that women or the feminine can't really bring. Purely just biologically, like that, and evolutionary, that's the way it's been. So
I think it takes
acknowledging
two
those
as well,
differences.
like it takes both feminine and masculine that are needed for whatever their gifts and attributes are to create balance.
Yeah. It's Yeah, and exactly, and supplying a framework, if we can do as a society, where there's opportunity for people to fulfill that with the strengths that they have, and any weaknesses they want to work on that they can. So
I think I like a traditional concept of initiation into womanhood and manhood. We don't tend to do that a lot anymore, and I think then it does get skewed and lost. Like when a young woman, like perhaps goes through menstruation or a big thing in her upbringing, then maybe it's about a gathering of women to celebrate that instead of looking at it. And I recall when it first happened for me, I was so embarrassed. It was a big embarrassing topic. I didn't want anyone to know. I felt awful, and like, oh my God, I'm a woman. I want to be a girl. I don't want to be a woman. But instead of it being talked about, and I'm sure generations before me wasn't even talked about. They just were like, what is that?
Well, they didn't even talk about sex, did they?
No, not at all. So I guess, and I was reading this book.
Thank you, Catholicism.
I was reading this book that a lady at work gave me called The Red Tent. And it talked about how traditionally, women of culture would go into a tent because all their cycles would be aligned with the moon cycle. And, you see it anywhere now. Women hang out together enough, their cycles align. Yeah. How amazing is that? Yeah. So then, why not gather together and celebrate that and talk about it? So their experiences with their cycles, about becoming a woman and what that means for them as a woman that's come into her initiation, but also for men, because there's nothing quite similar like that.
No.
But I know there's lots of groups now that have dads or supports or male figure that can take a boy into a week-long bush trip
camping
or something. Anything
they
like
do
that.
activities and things like that.
Yeah, but it's also about, I think, identifying as a male, but identifying as what makes a male is actually being able to talk and opening up emotions too, without it being seen as a feminine thing or a weak thing. And sometimes I hear that for young boys now around the age of 9, 10, where they're like, well, that's a girl and that's a boy and that's it. And it is defined male female roles, but also just being able to be okay if they're upset. Oh, your girls get upset more and cry more. I've heard some younger boys saying, it's like, like when are we getting to a point, at what age are we taking boys out and saying, removing them and having that male influence, going, this is what it's like to be a man. It's being strong, but being strong by being
resilient.
But comfortable in self.
Yeah, exactly.
I think with all this big movement on Earth, with men being equal and not being, I hate to say that word, but I guess being supportive against violence and things like that. But it's about men being there for men, because women can't offer that word and relate in that way that men can. So by starting at a young age with young men and saying, okay, it's okay to be comfortable in self. It's okay to be upset. It's also okay to be strong and to hold space and to be you be both. And that's what strength is. It's about being able to be okay with who you are, whatever man you are in yourself.
Spot on, and I think once a boy or a man can develop that strength and resilience in themselves, then it doesn't matter. Like there's no shame associated with being upset or crying or feeling sad about things. There's so much shame put on men or on boys especially, which is the most fucked up thing. To that if they do cry about something, that they're seen as being weak. And that was my whole issue around that goddamn Gillette advert, which was like using the framework of shame to try and motivate men to behave better. Instead of like just showing that fucking ad, I tell you.
I don't even know what ad you're talking about.
Do you not see that Gillette ad?
No.
About the Gillette came out with like a real like politically correct advert around like the first half was like showing boys misbehaving and men like being assholes and all this sort of stuff and just real bad things that men do. And then the second half was like, all of a sudden the dude's in front of the mirror with his razor, like, but men can be better, can do better and all that. And
that's already instilling in them that they're bad in the first place.
Yeah, they're bad. And
but you can be all right if you use a shaver.
One part of it was just, there was like a barbecue and there was some boys wrestling in the backyard. They were just like play fighting and like, that was seen, one of the dads then come, like the guys, one of the dads said, oh, boys will be boys, which might not be like the best thing to say, but like, what's wrong with like, me and my mates used to...
Girl, I did too. I used to do some rough play with my brother who's 5 years older than me.
Yeah, exactly. That's a big part of being a child.
It's a child, yeah, absolutely.
And this advert made it just look like... Anyway, we'll show it later. But I wrote this big thing on Facebook about it because I got up on my high horse about it. And it was interesting to me, like my older friends and the women included were like, could see like the bullshit behind that ad. But a lot of like people my age and younger just thought the ad was good, and that, you know, they couldn't understand why I didn't like that ad. And which is fine, like everyone has a different point of view, but basically the premise around using shame, but also we've been doing that with women for a long time too. Like it's been much more insidious with women, like in shame around marketing for like cosmetics and clothing than this is something.
And a real body, you know.
Yeah,
feeling
exactly.
Like, oh my God,
that use of shame has been like used. I mean, the whole idea of unethical marketing. I'm trying to promote ethical marketing as I do my thing, but like unethical marketing is of taking the analogy of it is taking away someone's self-esteem and selling it back to them. And we've been doing that to women for years, and it's starting to encroach on women now. On men now. And for especially like I can't understand from a woman's point of view who's had to put up with this for so long, why they would think that it's okay to start doing this for men. Like why all of a sudden, if it's been such a bad thing, which it has for women to have to put up with shame in advertising, like
then shame men because they've been shamed for years.
Yeah.
I know wrong doesn't work with wrong again, and I think this comes into play in a bigger pitch here. Talking about all this stuff is that sometimes people will go to such a strong belief system in one area, so that, you know, rather than being seen as a woman, for instance, from a woman's perspective, that's all about boobs and cleavage and beauty and short skirts, and not there's anything wrong with that. That's by choice. But then to go to the opposite, where it's you know, you're controlling yourself to be anything but that. Yeah. So where's the middle ground? Where is it okay to celebrate, from my perspective, being feminine with putting a little bit of makeup on and putting a dress on and feeling that inner essence of feminine without it being construed as, well, I'm being a cliche, cliche woman now, and you know, it's like and I feel that this goes longer and stretches longer, but again, coming into not just a woman singularly, but being a parent, being a mother, trying not to be too controlled with the way that you'd want your child to be like that either, or being like, no, my child, stepping outside of that. I know I'm going on a tangent, but this makes sense. But going to that whole thing of, I don't want my child to be like that at all. I'm going to put them in only those groups of people. I'm going to, and that again is controlling. Yeah. You know, like you're trying to control yourself to be too feminine or not to be feminine, or rather than just allowing, how do you feel within yourself to be on that day? Yeah. You know, okay, yes, I want my child to grow up in a way of being aware and aware of others around, but just putting him in silo groups of people that are maybe similar to you doesn't mean that they're going to be like that forever. They have to, like that Captain Fantastic movie, experience other people. You can instill in them what you find is important in life and a belief system, but in the end they've got to see it for themselves. You can tell them everything, you know, until the sun goes down, but at the end of the day they've got to decide, all right, what do I feel is right? Yeah. You know, okay, there's all these computer games and TVs, but rather than just taking that all away from a child, which I think it's important not to have too much technology sometimes, but it's also balancing that with, all right, they've got to learn some elements of that. That's our life moving forward. Sure. This is the society we're going to be in. Yeah. So it's educating them to see what's right for them with, you know, using it and being outside and having playtime. Yeah. And being okay with seeing some kids on the weekend that play it and allowing them to play with other kids. Because if you're taking them away from other kids that's using technology, then you're trying to make a statement that they're different and they shouldn't be doing that. But you know, if they want to, because they're also socialising at the same time with a new group of friends, and that's the medium for them to do that. And you're stopping them because you're controlled thinking of, all right, no,
this is the way it has to be.
This is the way it has to be because I don't want my kid on a computer or on a computer game. But I think in the end, if you're just watching and allowing them to learn for themselves and balancing it when you can in your own home life, then hopefully that when they are old enough to do things independently on their own, they make the choice that's right for them. Yeah, for without feeling like it's what they've been controlled to do their whole lives. Yeah,
and instilling in them a confidence to be able to do that, like a confidence to go outside the comfort zones, you know. So like for me, like with Layla, like I really like two things I really want to, if I can do these two things better than anything else, I'll be happy about, like instilling in her an understanding of resilience, and also just helping her to be capable, just capable to be able to move through the world beyond what I've got like identified for her, so that she, you know, because she might get into like different hobbies and different experiences that I've got not even any concept of, and like I don't want her to ever feel she might feel like nervous or whatever moving into those things, but if like I can help instill within her a confidence that she can go outside of her comfort zone and that she'll be fine, that's, to me, that's like the greatest gift I can give her, like just to be able to allow her to move through the world as an independent woman, without succumbing to fear.
Yeah, and being aware of sense of self.
Yeah.
You know, just because we like yoga doesn't mean that she will like yoga. Maybe we can practice it around her and show her the benefits, but in the end, if she doesn't like it, then that's okay.
Exactly, yeah.
Those kind of things. So not trying to control, but, you know, but also the important thing is too, I've been a youth worker and community development worker for years, and I learned from my own ego and my experiences growing up about trying to control them to do this because I think it's good, trying to step away with what I think is important for a child to do or a young person to do.
Yeah.
But then rather than allowing them and empowering them to do what they feel is right. But at the same time, it's so important, I've witnessed this, is that every child needs some boundaries.
Definitely. Some sort of framework.
I've met young teenagers, 13, 14 years old, that are out on the streets in the middle of the night because their parents just don't care. Let them do whatever they want.
Yeah.
And they come to me craving some, like, you know, I go, oh, would you like to help me with this? You know, and guiding them and teaching them some boundaries about things. Or maybe don't use that knife here in the kitchen, it's dangerous. But just actually guiding them, and they love it. They're like, oh my God, you know, someone's actually here to educate me on life skills. And they might have emotional intelligence and street smarts.
Sure.
But they don't understand boundaries, and they can, and that affects them in their social life too when they don't have those boundaries.
Yeah, exactly. And especially, you know, there's sort of, even at that age, they're quite they don't really have as much responsibility. It's when you get older and then you start having to like fend for yourself and like start to like, you're living on your own and you need to put meals on the table and responsibility, you know, then that's where it's important to have some sort of like, fundamental framework on how to be a responsible adult. And it really is a balance, like it's such a balancing act, and all you can do is the best you can do, like we spoke about, just be aware of what you're doing as a parent, and trusting, I guess, trusting, and also understanding too, like we've got Layla, but we know, like, I've got one sibling. Her and I are like just two completely different people. You're one of three, and you're all quite different. I mean, you've got your similarities. Understand, you don't know how, even though your child might grow up in a certain environment, it's a lot of and I'm sure there's been massive amounts of sociological studies into this, but like, you just don't know how a child's going to turn out. You just don't know what kind of adult they're going to grow up to be. You know, you can have 3, 4, 5 kids grow up in the exact same environment, but, you know, they could completely turn out to be completely different people, and often they do.
And I think going on parenting again, we put this expectation on ourselves from perceptions of other people in society too, of how we should be doing things as a parent, rather than listening to ourselves. Like what I've found being a mum, there's some beautiful mums out there that come together as a tribe, and I'm a part of different groups, like a normal conventional mums group to then a conscious mums group, and we all talk about different things, and I like to hear about different things. But what I can notice in those groups too is, as beautiful as they are, and how everyone, you know, in the end of the day just wants support, just wants people to hang around with, just wants to be able to feel like you relate. And you don't always relate with someone that might be conscious or not so conscious in the same way you are. Conscious is a big word.
Sure.
But it's also known that we're all doing the best that we can and not being too judgmental. Just because we don't feel that mum's doing the right thing doesn't mean that they're not doing the best that they can. I think I've learned that a lot being a mum and watching, and some comments other mums say. just being easy on each other and knowing, there are certain expectations of how we should be in society as a mother or father to our child.
Yeah.
But trying to like step outside that a little bit too and say, what's the best for my child right now?
Yeah.
You know, and I'm sure we'll have different views on this as Layla, you know, grows up a little bit more and will challenge us a little bit more within ourselves and who we are, because she will. We're going to be learning from her.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, just as much as she'll be learning from us. And then as she gets older, we're going to be learning from her more and more, because this world's excelling and at a fast pace of everything from education to technology to everything.
Yeah, exactly.
And the way of being and a different way to be in society and emotional intelligence, and we'll be learning off her. Yeah,
music and all kinds. Yeah, pop culture. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, like, even like I'm 38 now, and already like I'm starting to see how like I always felt like I had my finger on the pulse as far as music goes, like I did throughout my teenage years and 20s and in early 30s. Now, I don't know if it's because I'm just becoming a parent as well, it's not perhaps as important to me. Like, I didn't even listen to the Triple J Hottest 100, and a lot of the songs on there I wouldn't even know what they are.
Converting to Double J.
Yeah, well, going back to Double J, that's been a good thing. If anyone hasn't listened to Double J before, get on it, especially anyone of our age group. But I mean, that's one of the good things about having a child, I guess. It sort of helps you keep the finger on the pulse of what's going on in the world. And I want to be able to, I hope for that for Layla, where that she can operate in this world. And I mean, that's what I try and do, like, you know, I think about life quite esoterically, and I think about things that are outside the square, but I try and hope I do my best to adapt them into this world that I live in, and not just go off the grid. I mean, if you want to go off the grid, all well and good, but like there's so much more benefit to the world that we can bring if we take the things that we learn and understandings that we have and bring them back into the collective. And
you like your facts and figures too.
Yeah, I mean, I do. I like my facts and figures as well.
You like but it's good. You like to do the research behind things. And
I'm a see it to believe it type of person, but I know everyone's different. But I've seen some pretty fucking weird shit, so I don't mind talking about it, and because I know like that it's real, you know. So, and I think that's why people respond to what I say when I talk about something or discuss something, because they know that I'm not full of shit. That
you've experienced it yourself first.
Yeah, so and I investigate and I don't just share crap, you know. So, I really hope that Layla can do the same thing as well, if she chooses.
I'm going to bring up a nice topic too, and I won't go into the decisions we've made, but around the powers that be in government and the medical system around what's right to medicate your child, you know, vaccination pro or anti-vaccination and all those things too. And I think that comes into another thing is parents and us as a society not knowing what to do or panicking and going either way, you know, totally against or total pro. And I think the best thing I can recommend is to people to listen to themselves and do the research with things like that. You know, like do extensive research from both sides. Yeah. You know, I've had so many conversations, and I'm open and objective, and I've done a lot of research, but I've had a lot of conversations with people in particular that are pro-vax that won't read the material I give them. Yeah. Maybe it's fear because they might find something they don't like. Yeah. And, you know, and I think the most important thing is to be okay with what you find, because at the end of the day, everyone's doing the best that they can to make sure their child is healthy. Yeah, definitely. Again, it's that whole thing of, with everything in life, you're doing the best you can for what you feel is right. Yeah. Without trying, you know, and pulling from objective information, not being scared to go, all right, I think this, but maybe I'll read into that side. Yeah, exactly. Well, taking ourselves out of that, I mean, you've definitely taken on board more of the vaccine thing than I am, because like, early on, it did my head in the inability for people to be able to talk to each other. It was like just these two echo chambers have been set up where you're either pro-vax or you're against vaccine. And it was like there was no middle ground. And like I can't handle not being in the middle ground. Like I'm so like I'm a centrist. Like I have to like be able to entertain both points of view in order to even entertain an idea. But with the vaccine argument, there's a real issue with both sides not talking. We're seeing it in politics more and more. We're seeing that in a lot of society actually, where we're starting to like really become separate and polar in our understanding, and where we've lost the ability.
who's that Greek philosopher? Was it Aristotle? One of them said, you know, some paraphrasing, but like a true sign of wisdom is being able to entertain an idea without taking it on board or something like that, or entertain multiple ideas. Like,
I think it's important though, on that note, to have a good understanding and to research the topic so that if you can have a middle ground, you have a lot of backup.
At least you know, exactly. Yeah, you've got a position.
Yeah.
And a warranted position, not just like, this is what you know, I'm a liberal now and this is where I'm standing, or I'm Labour, or like I'm a pro-vaxxer.
And the funny thing is that I have gone on to say like a Facebook medium of different people, and I've gone on to a pro and anti vax pages, and I've had comments from several different people in both these groups saying the same thing. So you want to harm your child?
That's fucked.
So this is so, and look, it's not. The funny thing is, it's coming from both sides.
Yeah.
So obviously, both sides in the end are trying to do the best they can to make a healthy child. So I have to laugh because I've got the pro-vaxxer saying to me that you're going to create a disease for your child. And they'll give me all this material to research, but then they won't research anything.
Well, not just your child, but also the society in whole.
Yeah. But then you've got the anti-vaxxer that's had an experience. There's been several that have had experiences through vaccinating that have turned out terrible. But then they're saying you want to harm your child by giving it to them. And I totally understand that as well. But then look at what saved people before, what saved lives, and it could be either or. Not having it and having it. Our decision is our decision in the end, and I think that's just not to be discussed because it is very personal. But we have to belong in a world where we can't make that personal choice too much. Yeah. On that note, I think we've got we've got some visitors. I think our little one's coming up soon, so we might have to finish the podcast. No.
We have now.
We can introduce Layla. Come on, Layla. Come on. But anyway, I think the whole point of things is to have an open mind and an equal say and to be objective. There she is. Hello.
Hello. You can watch your skin in a few years' time.
Hello. Is there anything else that...
No, I think that's good.
Yeah.
Yep, it was a good talk.
Yes.
All right. Anything else you can think of?
No.
All right. We'll wrap it up. All right. Thanks very much, everyone.
Bye. Bye.
So bye-bye.